Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is C Double. I'm with All Wrestling Talk, and you are here on Indy Superstar Spotlight, where we shine the spotlight onto the indie wrestlers that are out there busting their tails and doing what they love to do, which is pro wrestling. Now, also want to really thank the sponsors. We've got quite a few. We want to thank Casey's and Winder. Big thanks for you guys for what you do. Guys, 11-2, you want a great meal, you go to Casey's. He'll hook you up. And they now serving donuts and coffees. No cops allowed. That's what the sign said. Sorry, guys. Not me. It's what they did. Also, want to thank big ups to Big Dog's Lawn Care and also to Disciples of Christ Wrestling Ministries, which on this Saturday night, my guest is going to be there. We are having our big show. It's going to be the championship, DCWM Championship Rising. And ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be talking with the man behind the gear, B Furious. So we're just going to go with that. And B, I want to thank you for coming on. Go ahead and just give a little shout out to everyone, and we'll go from here.
Well, C Double, thanks for having me on. I mean, definitely proud to be a part of DCWM, and I'm happy to be on here to get the word out.
Awesome. All right, and this is also very interactive. I try to get guys from Facebook. I get people from online, and also you can join the conference, join the show through allwrestlingtalknation.net. You want to get us a shout out, go to the website, go to the group page, go into the Facebook page. We'll get your questions, shoot me a message as we go. But like I said, today it's about Be Furious. Ladies and gentlemen, I got to say real quick before we start, tonight's show at 8 o'clock with Kathy Owens is going to be scheduled. So I just want to make that very clear to everybody. It's basically a double duty, but that's fine. That's what we do. Also want to say that on the 8th and 9th next week, on the 8th, Pandora, on the 9th, the Brute Mark James. So guys, check it out. More will be posted on the website. But I want to also say that, we at DCWM are going to have a big time show. One match is kind of in limbo, but two matches are still set. One is the main event for the World Heavyweight title, Leatherface versus Nitrous. And the loser leaves town match, of all the things to say, is Be Furious versus Zoink, who were the former tag champs. So we will bring all that up later on in the interview, but let's kind of talk about you, talk about what got you into the business, what was it that made you want to be a part of wrestling? And for the fans that have never had the privilege to see Be Furious work, give a brief synopsis of what Be Furious is all about.
Well, for starters, how did I break in? Well, how I got in was actually pretty much almost the opposite of how most guys break in. Most guys break in because they started off with a passion for the business. They really wanted to be a part of it, so they went through the training. Whereas me, I actually was an athlete at Georgia Tech over 20 years ago. And what had happened was I had come across some academic issues and lost my scholarship. So I was in a situation where I needed money to raise money fast to catch up with expenses. So I started doing various odd jobs, was working in security when somebody that I worked with in security said, hey, I've got a guy who's got a wrestling school. We can head on over that way, and you're in great shape. You've got a great build. I imagine you're in the condition that can do this kind of thing. So I gave it a try, started wrestling in the Indy circuit in various parts of Georgia back in 1995 to start with, before moving further down south. And once I started doing it, I found that I absolutely enjoyed it and started doing it pretty regularly. Did it full time actually for about a year and a half because I absolutely loved putting on a show for the fans. But after doing it for a year and a half, my body kind of taking a beating, I realized that, I need to kind of pull this down. If I kept going at the pace I was going, especially doing hardcore matches for most of my career, I was going to burn out fast. So I decided to go back to school. I still wrestled for Indies most weekends, but the style that I was mostly involved in was hardcore. In fact, I'd say probably over 80% of my matches in my career were hardcore matches. So that was kind of what they found, that I was not, I had athletic motion, but I didn't have wrestling savvy back then. So what they said, hey, you look like you can take a beating. So that's kind of what happened. Okay, just make it knock down, make it a all out knockdown brawl style of scenario. Bring in all the items, cookie sheets, stop signs, you name it, just go nuts. And the fun part about that is going into the match, there's no real game plan other than use everything at your disposal, and what happens, happens.
Yep. That is definitely a hardcore matchup weapon trial right there. There's no talk of we're going to use the cookie sheet in a snapmare drag, and then what you're going to do is take the table and do a thump bump with it. Yeah, you don't really discuss stuff like that when doing a hardcore match. Just go get hit. Get ready, I'm about to hit you. So let's go ahead. First of all, also, there's some more behind the scenes, but don't want to really just put it all out there. But let's put it this way: a lot of the young guys that we have in our company in DCWM really appreciate guys like you, you and Zoink. Travel a lot and everything. And I know one guy in particular, Patty Tank, wanted me to tell you, thank you for just coming out wrestling. Sometimes people have these dreams of money and fame when it really is just the love of the business, or just the love of the passion of doing it to make others happy, to see a smile on a kid's face. I mean, so that's in itself.
Absolutely.
We want to thank and Furious and being yourself and being what you've added to our shows. So we really want to thank you for that. So I wanted to get that comment on there for you.
Well, I definitely appreciate that comment, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And I think the important thing is, when the fans come out to a wrestling show, they want to escape reality for that time they're there. We all lead tough lives. We all have problems. When we go to a show, we want to be entertained. We want to in a place that's outside of our daily stress. We want to see a performance. We want to be a part of it. We want to be emotionally attached to it somehow. And especially for the kids, when the kids are involved, when the kids are popping, that's really a gratifying experience. Just the fact that you see the kids in the audience and you do something and the kids are cheering, that is really rewarding. Because when we were all that age, when we were watching wrestling back when we were in elementary school, we looked at wrestlers like they were guys out of a comic book. You always wanted to look at wrestlers like they were superheroes, and to be captured like that is awesome.
Yeah, I got to tell you, want to ask you this. Let's go ahead and go with that. You're talking about back in the days. For you, as a kid, watching wrestling, probably with your brothers, family, I got to ask, who was guys that you watched and you said, man, let me take a move from here, take a move? Because as I was telling one person, we all do it. It's not trying to say, oh, no, I came up with original. No, you're paying tribute to the guy that probably, if not inspired, but made you go, man, if I ever get in the ring, I want to just do something. Just maybe not shake the ropes, but pump my arms up like the Warrior did, or, how Sting will, put his hands to his mouth and scream, that will be something. But you know what I mean? It's like, what wrestler caught your eye and made you go, man, like you said, you weren't wanting to be one right away, but at least go, man, I really enjoy that. That's the guy I really enjoy.
It's funny you mentioned that, because that's something that in my mind I always worried about. I really was concerned by, I don't want to step on anyone's toes. And that's part of the reason why I spent most of my career in hardcore, because in hardcore, you're really not stepping on anybody's toes unless you're pulling off some crazy move like Sabu would do. Otherwise, I have tried to incorporate little things, little subtle hints. I brought, somebody mentioned this about one of my matches. Actually, I think it was a match I did for XPW back in September. I brought back the thumb to the eye. Yeah. And, that's something that, it's one of those little things that you just haven't seen in a long time. And, was kind of out of the playbook of any of the dirtier wrestlers, whether it's a Ric Flair, Dirty Dick Slater, just little dirty moves. And I mean, Be Furious, it seems to be a different character in different places. And that really depends on, what need am I fulfilling? Be Furious in XPW is a pretty crafty guy, so to speak. So, I will do things like stomp on your toes. I will do things like thumbs to the eye. I will do things like, when the ref's not looking, I'll see to it that you get an extra accent in there somewhere. But,
yeah.
But just to let you know, Be Furious is definitely a crafty guy in some ways, and in some rings he is an absolute bruiser, which is more what I was back in the day. I was a hardcore brawler / bruiser. I mean, I'm in my 40s now, but back when I was in my 20s, I was much physically larger. I was probably in the 270-ish ballpark, and I was built like a linebacker. Wow. I was built more like a defensive lineman. Oh yeah,
wow, that's pretty good.
I definitely put a beating on a few people.
Oh man, well, and I want to say, all I can tell you about Be Furious and DCWM is the man's intense. The man has a stare, ladies and gentlemen, that I like I said, last time he blinked, the oceans were crying. So I'm just letting you know, that's intensity right there, brother. So, I have to get that in there. Let's go ahead. Let me ask you, because you talked about the start for you starting back in the day. What was it? What was probably in your mind I don't want to say the hardest, but more because of an athlete, some things are easier than others. But what I want to go is, what was probably the biggest challenge for you going into wrestling? Was it just more mental? Was it more, if you had to do speaking, that was going to be more difficult, or was it particular moves that you had to learn?
I think the most difficult part, or actually there were two difficult parts going in. One, because I was coming in very raw. That was obviously an issue. I was your typical gung-ho, I'm getting into wrestling training type scenario. I went into it like, I don't know what I'm getting myself into. Person, a college athlete who was on a scholarship. So some people kind of take, I don't know, I feel like in some locker rooms, they kind of look at you different walk of life. And that was just the way things were. And the other thing, chain wrestling, I would say that was the biggest challenge because I didn't have natural wrestling instinct. So learning chain wrestling, especially when you have a lot of great chain wrestlers around, that was a definite challenge, trying to keep that continuity going. I think that's the biggest aspect of wrestling. As far as getting on the mic, presenting myself, that's something that comes naturally to me. So, being able to speak, being able to convey my character, create an atmosphere that, there's a reason for people to care why Be Furious is in the ring. That, or actually back then, most of my career, I was actually Brett Fury. and I just became B Furious a couple of years ago because I was retired. So I officially retired Brett Fury back a few years ago, and then when I decided to lace them back up, I came back as B Furious.
Well, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, what was it like? So we're talking about, we're talking with B Furious here, DCWM and AWTN presents Indy Superstar Spotlight, and we're talking with B Furious. He's going to be in a lose or leave town match with Zoink, and also you've wrestled in XPW, or am I correct there? That's the name of it, XPW.
Yes, XPW, correct.
Okay.
Extreme Professional Wrestling. Yes.
All right. You travel basically in the South, but what all areas have you traveled in? Is it just mainly South Carolina, Georgia? What all areas have you traveled in?
So far, at least in the last year, has been primarily South Carolina, Georgia, and North Carolina. I have not gone too far, especially since I want to be able to kind of keep it close, keep working with a lot of the same people, be familiar with the locker room. So I've been trying to go around to where the locker rooms are familiar. It's always a great experience when you go into a locker room and you know a lot of the guys, you get along with a lot of the guys. It just makes the experience that much better. It's one less thing to worry about, and just feel comfortable going about and doing your business.
Well, let's talk about that also. Who did the train? Who helped train you? Who were guys that kind of said, "Hey, let me help you out, B. Let me give you some kind of inspiration," or not saying, "Oh, like I'm gonna inspire you," but just being there trying to help. Maybe when you're having some tough days in the ring, and they kind of helped you along. Who were some guys that you like to thank or at least acknowledge?
Oh, well, there's so much that I picked up along the way. There are a lot of guys I can thank for various tidbits that have contributed to who I am today. But as far as early on training, there was Bear Connor. He was the first guy, buddy Pat Conroy actually was the one who worked with me in security, and Pat Conroy introduced me to Bear Connor, and Bear Connor was the one who gave me a chance. So I definitely have to thank both of those guys for breaking me in, because without them, I wouldn't even have much of a wrestling career to talk about. Also, along the way, as far as bigger names who I've come across and who've told me some very useful things, or even if I was having a rough day, just made me smile, especially when I had anxiety. Just making me smile before I go into a match was just a nice, relaxing experience. One-man gang, George Gray, I have to thank him a lot. Louisiana for a few years. He helped give me a lot of guidance. I lived in just outside of Baton Rouge, so down there he gave me a lot of guidance. I definitely have to thank Mick Foley, because I remember there was a show that we did back in back around 96, 97, where he basically saw that I was really nervous. He said something completely silly to me, and that definitely relieved a lot of my anxiety. I mean, back then I was a kid, right around 23, 24 years old, and I just had no idea what I was dealing with on that show. And he said the right thing to kind of get me to come back at ease, and it was very, very rewarding in order to be able to go into a match without anxiety. The last thing you want, it's great to go into a match with some butterflies in your stomach, but you don't want to be so anxious that you lose sight of what's in front of you. I also, the list is endless, but most recently, I'd like to thank the Governor, Buck Burton. He talked me into coming back into wrestling. I was retired for about 4 years when he kind of got in my ear and talked me into coming back. This was with 3CW out in Gaffney, South Carolina. He got me on a show that he was doing, and how it started. I told him, hey, this is my first time back. I really should not be involved in wrestling in any significant way. Worst case scenario, if you want to throw me in a handicap match, give me just a couple of minutes just to kind of get it going again, but don't put me in anything major, please. So what does he do? He puts me in a handicap match, me and Misery versus Kevin Phoenix. And I mean, yeah, Kevin Phoenix, he's basically almost to the point of being top shelf talent. He might be future WWE talent. This guy is that guy. I'm just like, are you kidding me? Fortunately, Phoenix was really savvy. I was really rusty, but he was very savvy. Phoenix was very professional and made everything look good. So, if nothing else, Kevin Phoenix is a real pro. So there, I'm shooting a thank you to Kevin Phoenix while I'm at it.
I hear you. Gotta say, what explain for people out there, because you kind of revealed a little bit when you were talking about your age. How long have you wrestled all together? And talk about the differences from now to then wrestling in the, when you first started.
Well, there are definitely a lot of differences both in and out of the ring. I've been wrestling. I'm about to hit 20 years next month from when I first broke into the business. May of 1995 was when I first broke into the business, and I can't believe it's going to be 20 years. But as far as what's different is the average wrestler, you dealt with physically larger guys back then, and they basically were not too kind to the smaller or shorter wrestlers back then. I mean, it was hard if you weren't one of the bigger guys. It was hard to get a push.
Okay.
You had to be super talented, and there were some guys that were amazing talents that ended up breaking the barrier that way. But it was just much harder back then. Also, juicing was a bigger issue back then. You had a lot of the bigger guys getting the pushes. They were also juicing. So you had guys who were great natural athletes, great catch-can style wrestlers. Who were fantastic chain wrestlers, but because they were like maybe 5'6", 170 pounds, they really weren't getting much of a push. They're basically being the glamorized jobber. Hey, you're going to make so-and-so look good since you're a great athlete. I mean, that's kind of what happened back then. The other thing is, back then, you didn't internet and cell phones and laptops, things like that, those are not mainstream items. Technology definitely played a big role in the transition between then and now. You get a lot of information off of the internet. People travel with laptops. Even smartphones, you can get a lot of information being able to browse through your smartphone. And there's just so many things that are available to you, whether it's being able to watch wrestling matches from YouTube, whether it's just straight up communication or whatnot. Because back then, all you basically had was whatever method of phone communication you had, and you hope that a show wasn't canceled when you're driving 6 hours to it. So,
wow,
stuff like that. Because, if you're on the road for 6 hours and then you get there, you show up and go, oh, show's canceled. It's like, oh, great. There was no way for me to know in advance. But now communication is a lot better. Also, I will say that habits of the average wrestler are better thanks to technology. I mean, back then, when you're on the road constantly traveling, it's easy to get in a lot of trouble. Much easier than it is now. Nowadays, a lot of wrestlers, they have their cell phones, iPads, laptops, internet keeping them busy. You find wrestlers are actually not spending as much time doing destructive things, self-destructive things, whether it's drugs, hitting the bottle a lot, messing with the wrong women a lot. You get less of that now than you did 20 years ago.
Yeah. What's been the most interesting thing that's happened to you? Because there's 3 stages. You have ring stories, then you have your locker room stories, then the road stories. So let's go ahead. Let's just hit a few up. What is, and like I said, you have a variety to go from. But what, ring wise, you were in a match, something happened, and you were just like, I got to get through this. But dear Lord, if I wasn't here, I'd be laughing or shaking my head, whatever. You have a story like that?
I'm going to also try to make this more relevant with regards to the topic. My first match in DCWM with Zoe, that was, I have one very interesting story with that, being that day, I hadn't slept well the night before. I'd actually just been recovering from some pretty bad illness, and I was just very, very worn down. So it worked out nicely that we were the first match of the night, because I definitely wasn't sure how long I could hold up. So and even better was the fact that Zoink and I, we had no chance to discuss anything in advance. We just said, let's go nuts. So that's what happened with that match. We had sort of a knockdown, drag out, brawl type scenario that ended in a double disqualification where we're just like, whatever, dude, just beat me up, I'll beat you up. And we were beating each other up to the point where people were looking on, and we were basically knocking each other pretty hard. So I was like, you know what, I'm not feeling my best anyway, so go right ahead.
Yeah, I remember that match. And what was so funny, I said, go ahead and bring some guys out. All right. When? And literally, I'm watching the match. I was like, bring some guys out. And the guy looked at me. Okay, when? Now? Let's put it this way. Sometimes when you have security and you say, I need some help, or we need some guys, I don't know, sometimes with people, I love them, God bless them, but sometimes they need to wash their ears out something, because the elevator don't go up top for some reason. And there are sometimes, you ask somebody and you just look at them and go, did I speak another language? Did I just speak? Did I just confuse you? I remember that match, and it was quite hilarious because I was going. Because see, that was also not just that; it was your debut, but it was also Zoink's debut too, as a Zoink.
Right.
And and guys, if you haven't seen Zoink, the boy is legitimately hilarious. And he gets almost excited like a kid when trying to say, well, let's do this. And he's telling me about the entrance, and I'm like, I can only do so much. This is in a old townhouse feel, arena type deal, old building where they do bingo. And I'm going, I will flicker the lights, we'll play there and see how that goes. And I'm going, I could just see it. Someone's going to fall because Zoink is trying to do a different entrance. But yeah, my Lord, that you guys had a good match there, and I'm looking forward to y'all's match on Saturday. What is it?
That should be pretty intense.
Oh yes.
I expect it to be really intense. So everybody's in for a treat if you're watching that match. Yeah. Now the special stipulation that was going to be added was loser must blink too. Just FYI. Give that little hint there. So let's go ahead and talk. You got a chance. You guys got to be in the ring in DCWM. Let's go ahead and just talk a little bit about that. What have you felt like your experience with Disciples of Christ Wrestling Ministries? What has it been like for you? We appreciate your time and your efforts coming and doing the stuff you've done. But what do you feel about the company? Well, it's been great as far as how I've been received. I feel welcome there. That's the first thing. When you walk into a locker room or dressing room, you want to be able to get along with the other guys. And it's just nice to walk in and feel welcome. And the other thing is you have to walk in with no presumption. You walk in, you are like everybody else. You walk in, you deal with people as equal. One thing I will say is there's some promising up and coming guys. I have become a fan of Cody McCullough. I feel like he brings a level of enthusiasm that I think will definitely play well for him in the long run. One thing, let me say, just from a very impartial standpoint, Nitrous and Axel, those guys are a godsend.
Yes.
I have so much respect for those guys and the commitment they bring with them. And they definitely, those two are probably my favorites of DCWM.
I hear you. I hear you. I love those guys here. And talking about one of those guys, actually, Axel decided to type in his question from the mountaintop here. Wanted to know, will you be blinking zoink to the next dimension? Told you
I don't know. What happens if B Furious blinks? Does the world implode?
Dude, I don't know. I'm afraid. You know.
Actually, no. Better yet, I think who wins in a staring contest between Chuck Norris and B Furious?
And the thing is, does Chuck Norris tell B to blink, or does Blink tell Chuck Norris he'll think about it? I mean, that becomes the question. You know, what we talk about. You know, look, I'm gonna tell you, you hit the nail on the head. There's a lot of guys there. I know Haas has worked real hard. I know BLT has, but yeah, Cody, I've been very thoroughly impressed with Cody McCullough.
Actually, I'm glad you mentioned BLT. I was going to say Haas looked like he was already coming into his own when I got there. BLT is someone that having the privilege to work with him, I understood that I feel like he's underrated. I feel like. No, I mean, I'm being completely honest.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
With regards to the last match we did together, the tag, you know, I talked to him. I understood the things he was thinking. We bounced ideas off each other, and I feel like he gets it more than people think he does.
Yep. It's there, you know, and that's what I love about the company. You know, we get to have some talented guys like y'all come in, you know, impart some wisdom, and then you get to see some of the hard work that these guys put into. And I got to tell you, like I said, Cody is also one of those guys that has impressed me from where he started to where he is now. And like I said, I love Nitrous and Axel. They bring that enthusiasm. They bring that, you know, just that, you know, you always want those guys that when they show up to work, they're in a good mood. You know, because even if you're in a rough mood, those guys around you, you look at them and you go, I can't be mad. I can't be aggravated. I got a tippy top mountaintop, and I got a king that doesn't want to sleep, and then I got a monster that doesn't want to blink. You know, you can't go wrong. You know, so guys like that, you know, guys like y'all.
You know, more importantly, you've got to let the good vibes be contagious.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you've got to set the positive example. You know, if everybody else is down, you've got to walk in positive. You've got to contribute to lifting everybody up.
Oh yeah, and I'll tell you, you know, this show, you know, we've had. I think last show was real fun. I think this show is going to be even, you know, funner, just because of the, you know, I've always, you know, love saying the goofballs, but you know, just a simple fact of, you know, it's a show, but it's your craft, and this is where you want to develop yourself.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, here's my advice to all the wrestlers, young and old out there. If you have setbacks, stick with it. If you truly have a passion for it, stick with it. Your passion will shine through because, you know, if you give it your all, then, you know, you let the rest fall into place. However, if you're not passionate about it, if you are not feeling like you are 100% committed to it, step away until you find that passion again. Because if you like passion doing this, then you're at 95%. If you're not at 100%, that gap is going to, you know, turn a snowball into an avalanche.
Yep. Well, let's talk about something like this. You know, because normally I like to go into some other stuff, but you know, you just kind of brought that out what is it, I want to say, the hard part of wrestling is it, what is for you, you felt were challenges for you? Was it, you just talked about the passion, but I want to know from you, when, because you talked about how you left wrestling and you came back. So, you made that decision, but when did you knew it was time to come back? When did you felt like, I really don't want, and then when you got like you said, you laced the boots, you got the stuff on, you went, man, it feels good to be back.
Well, I think what was very important about that is Governor Buck Burton, he basically, just sitting, talking to him, on many occasions, he basically reminded me of, what I loved about the business. He helped ignite that passion for the business. Also, just to plug Gov here a little bit, he actually was trained by Bill Moody. So he, before he was trained, he was dating Bill Moody, or to the folks out there, that was Paul Bearer. He was dating Bill's niece, and he didn't know that was Bill's niece. He was just like, one day she was just like, I've got a surprise for you. And the surprise was Bill Moody was over at her place, and he met Paul Bearer, who was, one of his favorite wrestling managers. And there were some places that he went that I had been. So, we're talking about certain places. He wrestled in Gulf States, and I wrestled in Gulf States. There were two different Gulf States promotions. One was Gulf States Wrestling Alliance, and the other one was Gulf States Extreme Wrestling. So they both ran in similar territories. So we talked about guys who wrestled down there and the overlap, and we kind of knew the circuit around there. So just all that nostalgia combined with the fact that, he was telling me about the guys he was managing and told me to come out to a show, and before you know it, I'm back in the ring.
That's perfect. And that's a Hall of Famer, but that's also a man that's been into Texas wrestling and back in the old school wrestling too. So a lot of people don't know that. What has it been like for you as we talk about this? What was like? Give us like some of your favorite matches you've had. You talked about people that you've, that inspired you, but now let's talk about people you've enjoyed working with, in general.
Well, let's see. In most recent years, I definitely have to give a shout out to Black Dragon. I wrestled him a few times last year, and it was nice working with him because he's also a trainer. So he definitely helped me get reacclimated in terms of getting my game polished up. So I definitely have to give thanks to him. I also definitely, I will say, one of my most memorable matches, you know what, I will say two most memorable matches, at least in recent history. One, definitely winning the DCWM tag title. It's nice to know that when an organization has that kind of confidence in you, that's a fantastic feeling. I mean, when you're in the business and you win a belt, you've got to be excited. I mean, that's, both a reward in and of itself, and just feeling the confidence being expressed is a great thing. Also, winning the XPW Southern States Heavyweight Championship back in September. That was a fantastic feeling. Also, I will say my first match against the Black Dragon last year broke a 15-year losing streak. So I had not won a match between 1999 and 2014. Wow. So I broke a 15-year losing streak when I beat the Black Dragon last July in Gaffney.
I believe you sent me that video too. That's pretty good. I remember that. Got it. All right, one guy. I know we talked about people that you just worked with, and you just answered that. So just check your video out or the interview. But big question that I like here is what what's been the motivation to keep going on? It's not, what was your motivation in the past? I'm saying now or before, during these times, what has been your motivation going to wrestle?
Well, I'd say one of the biggest motivations has been being able to impart some wisdom to the younger guys who are early on in their wrestling careers. I mean, when I can give ideas to, say, like a Cody McCulley or a Patty Tank or, a BLT, being able to, bounce ideas off them and give them, direction in terms of how to take that a step further. Basically, there are a lot of, also another guy that I'm going to along with it, Tyler Storm. I actually wrestled Tyler Storm a couple of weeks ago, and the guy is really committed to being a wrestler, and he doesn't get taken as seriously as I think he should. Partly because he's probably about 120 pounds soaking wet. But that's just it. I hate to see a guy who's that committed be relegated to jobbing or being limited when he can do so much more. So, things like that. I want to see guys who both pay their dues and, have ideas or are ready to take it to the next level and break out. And I love being able to contribute to that. I love being able to see guys grow out of where they are and do more.
Yep. My question is, you mentioned it, paying dues. What were some dues that you had to pay, when you were getting first started in the business?
Well, I took a lot of stiff shots. And, when it, in my mind, when it started to feel like I was becoming the running joke, I realized, what, I need to take this and run with it. So that's when I got into hardcore matches. So I figure if I'm going to take stiff shots, I may as well, take it a step up and say, hey, you know what, let's make this count for something. And so I took all sorts of bumps, bruises, stiff shots, and thanks to it being a hardcore match, it's a decorated form of taking some big bumps, bruises, and knocks. So, I think it was basically turning a rough time into a positive by going that route. Now, I will say, though, in states where applicable, I definitely done the coloring. So I've done that quite a bit. And I think, when you see me face to face, the fact that you can tell one of my eyebrows is really messed up looking. Yeah. that eyebrow has been slashed many a time.
It's one of those memorable moments. Let's go ahead and, all right, let me ask, because I know that I do have some crazy hardcore fans out there, and me personally, I don't have a problem versus hardcore matches. Never really have. It's just, in what we do, we really don't want to try to bring it out too much, but what I want to ask you was, in a match, you get hit, what's the one thing that someone pulled out and you went, really? Come on now. Use some common sense. Or, oh, God, this is going to hurt. Any of those moments?
No, actually, well, to the first point about, whoa, use your common sense, one guy pulled out a switchblade.
Oh, God.
Are you kidding me? My eye just popped out of my head. I was like, are you kidding me? I'm just like, oh my gosh. This is like something out of a bad horror movie. It's not basic. There's like, okay, so he started swinging, and I'm just like dodging. I'm like, oh my gosh, I just need to dodge this for a while. And then, when we had an opportunity, I'm like, what the heck are you doing?
The old saying, be ready for anything? I think that's what they meant.
Yeah,
oh.
I was not expecting that.
Yeah.
Now, as far as the worst bump I took, being basically being suplexed onto a ladder, like a ladder laying down. Yeah, I don't like ladders. Let me tell you, that was not fun.
It's funny. I had someone ask me, well, can't you do a ladder match? And y'all, where you wrestle at? I'm like, dear Lord, if we did a ladder match, Cody McCauley's hair would get caught up in the fan. I can't do that. See, everybody gets my love, people. Be Furious is blinking, Cody and his hair, Tank and his ultra reflection abilities, Alex and his tippy top rock promos, and when he has to take a breathing treatment in the middle, you got Nitrous, who's just Mr. Peanut Never Sleeps, so just remember that. But anyway, but all right, a good question here. Someone asked, did you ever feel like when it came to hardcore wrestlers, did you ever feel like was the genre just people think of the hardcore era as this great thing, but did you ever think it was just like total abuse of wrestlers? Like, guys that,
in some ways, yeah. I mean, when you're basically, some guys just had a very, very narrow way of thinking that what's a way I can make this hardcore match better? Do something that hurts even more. I mean, that's, I don't like that one-dimensional way of thinking. You want to make a match better? Think of ways to make it more innovative. Don't think that, okay, I need to be gushing buckets of blood to make this better, or I need to break 4 bones instead of 3 to make this better. I mean, we're talking about people's livelihoods here. In the end, when all is said and done, we don't want a guy to end up in the hospital.
Yeah. And perfect thing. And the guy, what was it? The question they meant was it? Do you also ever think it's been overused? Like, they look at it. Is it more they look at the guy and go, "Oh, can't put him in that match. Let's just throw him in a hardcore match." Like just being overused as hardcore when you could just say, "What can you do in the ring?" and let's see what we can work with.
Well, it depends. It was for the longest time, even during my 15-year losing streak, I was almost exclusively working hardcore style matches, and part of that is because a lot of the indies that I did matches for, they had a hardcore title, and 2/3 of most locker rooms are not necessarily looking to work a true hardcore match, because you're dealing with career wrestlers who are wrestling full time, and a hardcore match puts them out for a week. That's a valuable time that they can't be out for, and I can understand that. And that especially if you're a true professional wrestler, you don't want to be out for any time, especially when a hardcore match is what puts you out for a while. But that being said, I knew my place in the pecking order. I knew that because I wasn't wrestling full time, that I'm definitely good at taking a beating and putting over your champion if that's what it came to it. So that was definitely a workable solution for me given my circumstances. But that being said, when you look at guys like say New Jack from years ago, and you're just like, you have those jaw-dropping moments when he's basically dropping down from 25 feet up and stuff like that. And I'm just like, that's great and all, but I felt like he was overused. Or Necro Butcher. Butcher, I think Necro Butcher realized that he was overdoing it too, so he cut back on that and started doing some normal wrestling matches in between.
Yeah, and that's some good points that you made, and I appreciate that. Want to go into another area. We talk about how in the business you got guys that will fight. They do their things. Let's talk about locker rooms. You talked about how it was nice to go to a locker room. It's real cool. But what's been like the weirdest thing you go, what the heck's going on? And you realize it's in the locker room. Something's going on. It doesn't have to be a bad thing, but it could be someone pranking a joke, whatever. Stories of that.
Well, actually, the funniest thing was a show that I did when I had no idea what the theme of the show was. I was basically called that, hey, are you available to work this show at this location at this time? And I'm like, sure. And then I go in and I see a bunch of midgets in the locker room, and I'm just like, am I at the right place? Well, it turns out that they were prepping. They actually had like a midget battle royal for that event, and I was like, wow, because when I went in, I didn't see any of the more vertically inclined workers. So I was like, am I in the right place?
Hey guys, when did I become a giant? I mean, I appreciate this,
Yeah.
but you know, oh my God.
I was going to say, is this like the giant, are we playing like a bunch of Davids and I'm the Goliath here?
Because y'all know I need some backup, for real. Oh my God. Sorry, I need a little minute there to think about that. All right, road stories, you know, things that, you know, going on the road, about byways, you know, you're traveling back and forth, even though, yeah, as you said, you're trying to keep it more local for you. But I want to throw a twist in there for you because, you know, you've been in this for a while. You're saying you like staying local. So have you ever had a time where you're somewhere and someone's going, hey, let's be furious. Why is he bagging his groceries? You know?
Well, actually, here's the best moment. I was actually, with my day job, I was actually on a business trip in Arizona 4 years ago. And yeah, my coworker, I had several coworkers with me, but in this one particular instance, he and I were in an elevator, and these two people get on. And as the elevator is going up, one guy kind of looks at me, kind of, you know, with a almost perplexed look on his face, and then he was like, "Hey, are you Brett Fury?" And my coworker could not believe it. I mean, he was just like, he thought I was making up the whole wrestling thing in my past, but at that moment, he became a believer.
He became a Brett Lever. Sorry, that was too easy.
Oh, that's terrible.
That was terrible, but it was just too easy.
But no, that's actually what I mean. My coworker to this day will still tell that story because he would have never guessed that some random stranger across the country would have been like, "Whoa, is that Brett Fury?"
It's like, yes, it is. Are you going to buy me this food? Yeah, here. Awesome, free food. I'm expecting that from somebody. Hey, that's the double. Buy me a meal. All right, good. We're good. And next you know, they give you a white pill and say, no, I don't want that. Last I heard, that was arsenic. Anyway, so any funny road stories you've had?
You know, fortunately, I didn't have many funny road stories or many crazy road stories. I will say that for most of the last 20 years, I've been a pretty frugal person, so I'm all about, you know, going from point A to point B and trying to stay out of trouble. I will say, though, funny road story recently when me, Zoink, and Dynamite Dave road trip down. Let me tell you, Dave is such a character. The guy is hilarious, and he is an absolute hoot to be around. That guy has got some great road stories from back in his day. But, you know, hanging out with him, it was a hoot. It was just like, you know, on our way to the DCWM show, we stopped in Greenville, hung out, had, you know, some pizza and beers, and the bartenders were just like, hey, we got in front of like, you're wrestlers? And then, you know, that became an amusing scenario. And also, that night after we were done at the DCWM show, went back to the hotel. We ended up polishing off nearly 24 beers and basically passed out telling stories.
See, now I'm going to tell you folks, don't get all judgmental, DCWM, but look, I'm not going to tell these guys how to live. That's just be wrong. And by the way, some good beer. And I'm going to tell you, Dave, yeah, you might want to be, he a special individual, let's just say. That boy cracks you up, and I'm going to tell you, if you ain't careful, he will mess with your head. But he's great. What are like some final thoughts or final things you like to say? You know, we're running into the end of the show, but what's some things you like just kind of say and, you know, thank on?
Well, first and foremost, definitely, folks, don't worry about if you're dealing with 20 people and 18 of them are against you. Don't worry about the 18 that are against you. Worry about the 2 that are in your corner. I mean, just like with any other longtime wrestler, you're going to have lots of promotions that will talk smack about you. Don't worry about the ones that talk smack about you. Worry about the ones that support you, because those are the guys you want to spend your time and energy on. And of course, just like everything else, we all have tough times. We all hit obstacles. Assess the obstacle, and do whatever you need to do. Put things in perspective and overcome the challenges.
Yep, appreciate that. And guys, I'm going to tell you, Be Furious has been in the business for quite a while, but the thing is, your passion, your love for the business, and also just camaraderie and always being respectful. Man, I've got nothing but respect for you. I've enjoyed working with you myself. Definitely loved. I'll never forget the time I made the comment about the never blinking part, and you turned around and just stared me down, and I'm going, it's funny. And all I could see was this form of your mouth trying not to laugh. So it was nice, funny. By the way, the man has a pretty cool mask. You definitely want to check that out. But yeah, man. But no, I want to say thank you so much for everything you've done. No matter whatever life brings your way, if you decide to come back, whatever, and we just have to call you C Furious or Furious, you got to drop the B. That's fine. We'll do that too. But just know you're always welcome back to this show and also to DCWM. We love you very much, and we appreciate everything you've done for us. And we can't wait for April 4th match with you and Zoink. And just know, man, we're gonna have a good time, and we'll enjoy more of Be Furious when we can. So just want to say thank you so much, man. You've been a good guy, and we really appreciate you.
No, I want to say I appreciate you guys. Thank you for giving me the opportunity and being in my corner. That's irreplaceable.
Yeah. Well, look, guys, if you want to watch this interview in its entirety, check out allwrestlingtalknations.webs.com. You'll definitely see it. You'll see Be Furious' face with the intense stare with the tag title, and the link will be underneath him. Also, guys, go to his Be Furious page. If I link to him other ways, go ahead and get to it too. He's going to be posting this anywhere he likes. And like I said, man, this is like kind of a gift to us, to you, man. Appreciate you so much for taking the time out to be on the show. And like I said, Championship Rising. You're already a champion, and we appreciate you so much.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you having me.
No problem. Guys, I'm C-Double. Like I said, later on today, we'll be around 8 o'clock. We'll have Kathy Owens. Check it out. I'm C-Double. Will be another phone interview, so get ready. Guys, I'm C-Double for Be Furious, for DCWM, for All Wrestling Talk. I'm C-Double. I'm out.